Hey guys, we have already been talking about composite functions and how you can just put a number inside a function and then that number goes into another function. And all I wanted to show you was that there are different ways that we can write it. So we're talking about different notation. And so this is a composite function, even though it looks different than what we did last class. There's actually like a little circle. It looks kind of like an O, but it's real tiny, but it's not a dot like in multiplication. So this means the same thing as f of g of 5. So if you see this, it means f of g of 5, okay? It just is written a little bit different. It's just, you could see either one, but it means the same thing. So we work it out the same way. So we take this 5 and we put it into the g function. So since this is the g function, we're going to take a 5 and we're going to put that in here and here. So that would be 5 squared plus, we're going to put a 5 in again, so we're putting 5 in for those x values. That is 25 plus 5, so that's the number 30. And then that is the g function, so then we take this outside function, and now that we know that the inside, or this function, is the number 30, now we take 30 and put it into the function that comes out, which would be the f function, so that's 9 minus x. So we put a 30 in place of that x there, so when we work this one out, we just get 30 right there. That's 9 minus 30, which is negative 21. Okay? So this whole thing, even though it looks different, is actually worked out the same way, and the entire value is negative 21. So we work it inside out just like normal. I just rewrote it so that we worked it out like we're used to. Okay, this one, again, it's written slightly different. It's a new way to write it, but it's the same thing. And it's going to change up a little bit because we have some x squareds going on. So we just want to be careful. So if this looks funny to you, that just means f of h of x. All right, so that means we're going to put h of x inside the f function. So the f function is 9 minus x. That's what that function is. All right, and then we think to ourselves, okay, well, what is the h function? And over here it is x squared plus 2x plus 1. So instead of this x, instead of being f of x, which is what that x is, it's now f of this whole group. So we're going to take the x out and put in this whole function, new function instead. So that's x squared plus 2x plus 1. And just be careful, when we do that, since it's the whole thing, you have to put parentheses around. It's the group that we are subtracting. We're not just subtracting that, we're subtracting the whole function, okay? Just like here, we put a parenthesis around the 5 because everything needs to square, and in this case, everything needs to subtract. So this means that we're subtracting each one of these terms. So when we do that, it's really 9 minus x squared, and then it's also minus 2x minus a 1. All right, so this minus means we're subtracting the whole thing, which means each one of them is subtracting. And then we look for our like terms. 9 minus 1 is 8. So 8 minus x squared minus 2x. That is the final answer. It's not in descending order, but it is simplified. If we wanted to write it in descending order, we would put negative x squared first, we would put 2x in the middle, and then we would put the positive 8 or plus 8 at the end. So this is technically better because it's descending order, and we're leading with our x squared, but those are very similar, we just rearranged. All right, the last one is going to take us just a tiny step further. We're still putting one function into the other function like we did here, But in this case, it's got some squaring, so we have to remind ourselves, how do we square stuff? So this is h of f of x, all right, which means that we're gonna, whatever f of x is, we're gonna put it inside the h function. So the h function is x squared plus 2x plus 1. And so here we are going to take out the x's. You might want to go ahead and just put parentheses, just like we ended up needing parentheses there. And when I put parentheses here, I'm going to need maybe a little bit more room. All right? And so we're taking out the x's from here, and we're going to put this function in. And this function, if we look off to the side, is 9 minus x. 9 minus x. So that means I'm going to put 9 minus x right there, and I'm going to put 9 minus x right there. Now, the tricky thing about this one is that there's a lot of just multiplying that we have to do. You know how to do it all, but it's just a lot of multiplying, meaning we're squaring this. So if we've got a binomial squared, we have to turn to our Punnett square. I'll just do a box right here. So because we're squaring this, that means 9 minus x and 9 minus x. So that's 81, negative 9x, negative 9x, and x squared. All right, so that is this multiplied out. Pardon me. This is going to distribute, and then we're just going to add 1 to the end, all right? So this works out to that part. This, when we distribute it, is going to be 18 minus 2x. That's that part distributed, and then we still bring down the plus 1. So when I look inside here and I clean this up, when I put this multiplied Punnett square in with that, because this is all one answer actually, it is, hopefully I have enough room, this combines to 81 minus 18x, that's these two, plus x squared. Now I'm just going to bring this half down. So we did this half here. I'm going to bring this half down because it's all one. We're adding all of those pieces up. So plus 18 minus 2x plus 1. All right, so this part is the squared part using our Punnett square. And this part is the second half where we distributed, and then we still have to add 1. So then we just put our like terms together. 81 plus 18, 81 plus 18, that's 99. And then plus 1, so that's 100. I just crossed them out so I don't miss anything. Negative 18 minus 2x, because they're like terms, is negative 20x. And then it looks like we just have x squared left. So if I wanted to write it in descending order, I could. I would write it backwards. X squared minus 20x plus 100. I don't happen to have enough room, so I'm just going to leave it like this. So just be careful if you ever have to square something. If it's a binomial, you have to think back to what we know about polynomials. You have to set up your Punnett square and square it, and then keep going with our problem. So this part was the Punnett square. This part was distributing. That we just added 1 at the end. And so when you put all of those pieces together and simplify, it comes out to that trinomial.